On today's show, it is Ari's bold predictions. One he's told you on the show before, and I've been incredulous, and he's doubling and tripling down on that one. It involves Arch Manning. He's got a really interesting one involving the college football playoff and who gets in and how. And also a surprise out of the SEC. We've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We will be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you'll get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. Another big day of predictions. I made my bold predictions yesterday. Ari makes his today. Here's another one. I predict Nebraska fans will accept the challenge that was laid out for them this preseason. You know what I mean, Ari? Did you see the news?
What was the news?
So Sean Callahan of Husker Online reporting on Wednesday that Nebraska will have 121,000 cold tall boy beers ready for sale for each game day at Memorial Stadium.
I see.
Challenge accepted. I guarantee that's what the Nebraska fans have said.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty acceptable and reasonable challenge. Do you not?
I think so. 85,000 seats. Now, some of these are going to be under 21, so they can't consume them, obviously. And then some people don't drink, so they can't consume them. But I think those who do partake will make sure everything sells out, and they may have to up their order after a couple of games. Of course, everyone will drive home responsibly because greatest fans in the world. But I believe in you, Nebraska fans. I believe in you.
You know what I remember about going to a few Nebraska games? One, their fans are really, really nice, and the people there are lovely. And two, it is the worst pre-game parking situation I've ever encountered. Like the people.
It's a matter of finding the lot. Once you figure out where the lot is, it's fine.
Right, but the two times I've gone, the people who are trying to show you where the lot is don't know where they are, and the traffic is incredibly terrible in that area. And I know that traffic's terrible at every stadium on game day, but it was particularly bad enough for me to remember it. So maybe it was just
the good news is when you find your parking spot, there will be a cold tall boy waiting for you.
Yeah, it's worth the trip.
Once you get the trip.
Yeah, Nebraska's. I know that's not the point of the show, and they're not in my predictions, but I've noticed, with Josh Payton earlier in the week and some other things I've seen on the internet that people are starting to drink some of that tall boy Nebraska Kool-Aid. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like, but
Nebraska Cincy Thursday next week. Very interesting game. Very interesting game.
The most anticipated Nebraska season of the last decade, no?
Oh, yeah. Easily. There was that weird random year where everybody decided, it was Scott Frost's second year, where everybody decided that Nebraska was suddenly going to win its division in the Big Ten. And nobody could explain why everybody decided that at once. But yeah, Nebraska and Cincinnati next week playing at Arrowhead Stadium. Nebraska is a 6.5-point favorite, according to BetMGM. So we will talk a lot about that next week. But yes, my 11th bold prediction, 121,000 cold tall boys won't be enough. That's my 11th bold prediction.
Yeah, because that's like what? Like 2 tall boys a fan?
1.3.
No, I know, but you also have to like take out of like kids and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm thinking
girls don't
at
drink
least
tall
one
boys,
per quarter.
Not all of them.
And I'm not going to drink in the fourth quarter, obviously, but because that's crunch time. But one per quarter feels good. So make my 11th prediction come true, Nebraska fans. 121,000, not enough. All right, Ari, let us get to your predictions. Your number one. You've said it on the show before. I have sat here slack-jawed as you say it, but I'm going to let you take it from here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time you want to spend on it since I just went on this diatribe last week, but Arch Manning will be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. Like, it's going to happen. It is my full belief that Arch Manning's last name has almost worked against him this offseason in regards to the discourse about a ceiling. I think people believe that he is overrated, that he wasn't worthy of being a 5-star prospect, and that all of his entire aura as a human being is hype, all because of his last name, and that has almost mitigated some expectations from the general fan, not Texas fans, but the general fan on like what he's capable of. I think I saw Coach O talking to a podcast that might have been Bussin' with the Boys.
It was on Part of My Take. Yeah, talking about how he loved Arch.
That's right. And he said that Arch Manning is the closest thing that he saw in practice to Joe Burrow in the time since Joe Burrow played. Again, I don't know how much stock you put into that, but that's a coach who coached one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the sport, who's making that comparison. To their
practices, by the way,
and has been at their practices. So like, I think that the likelihood of him not being very good is very low. And I think that the combination of his last name will turn into a frenzy and a hype and fulfilling of that hype. And the odds of him not having a good statistical season on a team that's going to be competing for the championship are low. I think it's a virtual lock that he'll at least make it to New York.
See, that it's the utter certainty that you say it with that makes me giggle.
Like, I mean, he's 8-1, and I'm saying he'll go to New York. Like, I'm not even saying he'll win it. Like, it's almost like
you've said it in the past. You said there is no way he doesn't.
There's no way he doesn't go to New York unless he gets injured, in my opinion. Now,
there's so much that can happen beyond injury.
The one thing that I am concerned with him, and I don't know if it's quite as bad as DJ, but he gets banged up a lot, doesn't he?
Arch? No, there's the Ohio State game. I believe he was banged up, but that's pretty much
okay. Yeah, the concussion that he supposedly.
I don't know if it was a concussion, but we know he didn't come back in the game. You've seen the clip of
the hit, and you've seen him and how his body.
Yeah, he didn't come back in the game.
He got back up, and he didn't come back into the game. But yeah, that's kind of my MO. If we're gonna do it, man, we're gonna swing. Okay, like, hey, guess what? I'm certain that he's going to New York, and if he doesn't, I'm wrong. Oh no, I want to lean into it.
I'm gonna come up with a scenario where he doesn't, and it's just that 2 or 3 other quarterbacks are amazing, or 2 quarterbacks and a running back just have incredible statistical years. I think probably not because of the Travis Hunter thing, but I think we're going to be back to mostly quarterbacks. Mostly guys whose teams are in the college football playoff hunt, which is why you are making the prediction you are making.
Like, what do you think the odds are that Texas isn't in the SEC championship, or at least a shoe-in for the playoff in the end of November?
I think there's a 75% chance that they are all the good things. Okay. 25% chance that the bad stuff happens.
I don't know what would have to happen for them not to make the playoff.
So, Producer River asked a good question. Producer River asked us a good question off stage. How much better than Quinn Ewers does he need to be for all of this stuff to happen? Or what if he puts up the same season as Quinn Ewers, which, by the way, got them to Atlanta and then got them to the semifinal, and they were competitive in the semifinal.
Hard to play that game because Quinn Ewers got injured and I think missed 2.5 games, so it's hard to do the statistical breakdown. I think if he throws for 3,000 yards and has 35 total touchdowns, I'll be in New York.
I tell you what, I'm actually looking at Quinn Ewers' numbers from last year. Arch can surpass these
He's going to, yeah.
pretty easily.
He's going to.
7.8 yards per attempt. It's actually pretty average. He had 3,472 passing yards. Obviously, they played deep into the playoff. He played 14 games, even though he missed 2. So we think, just with my little back of the envelope math, that Arch is probably going to have a better year than Quinn. I mean, you're talking about 3,000 yards. I'm thinking now. Granted, these are numbers that are it would be post SEC championship weekend, so it would be after 12 or 13 games for Arch. He may be in the 3,500 to 4,000 yard range at that point. He may, if he plays really well.
Thing that you're forgetting too,
yeah,
is there's virtually 0 rushing attempts. That I'm not looking at Quinn Ewers' numbers like you are, but he didn't run the ball. And Arch is
Arch could potentially score some touchdowns on the ground as well, which is good for our little fantasy game, especially. But
I think that the more you talk about it to me, I think you'll start to come around to what I'm saying.
Well, I'm just doing the math here, and now I'm feeling much better about your prediction than I was, because I think about all the things that
he's Manning. They're going to be in the playoff. He's going to New York, dude. Like, it's not that controversial. It's 8-1 that he wins it. 8-1.
You know those. Those odds never work out the way they're supposed to.
But I'm just saying, like, from a statistical standpoint, me saying he's going to New York when the actual math is saying it's 8-1, it's not that hot when you really boil it down. That's all.
All right, let's go to your second one, which played off the news from yesterday. What's that second one?
The second one is no college football playoff protocol will have a tangible impact on the selection process. And we did talk about it a little bit on Wednesday, but college football playoff did announce on Wednesday that there would be a new strength of schedule and strength of record metrics that are used by the committee in order to help them formulate their rankings. And my bold prediction, which is not bold at all, it's actually what's going to happen, is that there will be no tangible impact. You won't feel it as a consumer, and you won't even see it as a result of these new ones, because they already did take into account strength of record and strength of schedule and quality wins and all those things. So like I said on the show on Wednesday, unless you can explain to me specifically how the new criteria and metrics that they use would have impacted the results of last year, which I don't know that you could quantify, I am unmoved by the somewhat exciting information that really doesn't change anything. So that one's kind of boring. But like that
I think you're right. I think that felt like lip service to the conferences to me more than anything else, to the SEC and the Big Ten specifically. And it would
be significant if they considered things that they didn't already consider.
Yeah.
They're already
right. Human beings consider. Now, what I would love for them to do is, as a tiebreaker, punish the team that scheduled crap in the non-conference and reward the team that scheduled a better non-conference schedule. If it comes down to that, if you've got two teams and one's the last at large and the other, the other one's right on the cusp,
which they would have already done. If Indiana were 10-2, they would have lost the tiebreaker. It would have already happened. Like nothing, there will be no difference, is all I'm saying. The thing that would be interesting is if they introduced a new metric that we never discussed at all, and that became a thing. I think that would be more interesting. But like, did we not spend weeks and weeks and weeks screaming at each other and at people about strength of record last year?
We did.
I mean, we already did. It's not new. So, cool. All right, let's go to the next one. That one's kind of I don't mean to be the
next one. On we kind of previewed this one yesterday. This is spicy now.
Yeah. So I actually mulled it over after the show yesterday, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for it. One of the big three in the SEC will not win the conference. So instead of taking Texas, Georgia, and Alabama to win the SEC, I am taking the field. And the field includes teams like LSU, Auburn, Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Mizzou. So on the surface, you probably would not take any of those teams I just listed head-to-head against Texas, Georgia, or Alabama. But when you take them in the aggregate, the odds of all of them not being good enough, or the odds of at least two of those 7 teams I just listed being really good out of nowhere, or kind of not out of nowhere, we're anticipating some of it, seem relatively low as well. And also, too, like I think that like another bold prediction is Texas, Georgia, and Alabama have an awful year for their standard, which I think is like one of the three might have an awful year.
Right. And by awful, like 9-3 is awful.
Yeah, 9-3,
for
8-4 type of year. But like, what if Georgia goes 9-3? For their standard, they still might make the playoff. That's an awful season for them. So, but like also too, like the fact that you can get LSU in the field is such a, because LSU winning the championship, the conference championship, I should say, would not be a holy crap moment at all.
No, it doesn't seem that far fetched. Like we've talked about Florida as a potential playoff team. We talked about Auburn as a potential playoff team, A&M as a potential playoff team, LSU, of course, South Carolina. Like none of this is that far fetched. And it's not saying that Texas, Georgia, or Alabama won't make it to Atlanta. You're saying that one of those teams could be on the other side and lose to one of the teams that we just talked about in Atlanta, which in a one-game scenario, absolutely that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, like what? Is it impossible to anticipate that or picture a world where Garrett Nussmeier just lights the world on fire? Is it impossible to anticipate that Jackson Arnold takes a big step? I mean, I don't know. They've got really good
DJ Lagway, Marcel Reed. Exactly.
I mean, what's the one thing that all those teams have in common? Maybe outside of Mizzou, if you're not a big Bo Prabula guy. They all have
really Bo Prabula or quarterback. Sam Horn.
Yeah, sorry.
Could be both.
That would suck if he doesn't start, by the way. That would be terrible because he missed the playoff run last year for this.
Well, right now they might be playing two, but I'm sure it'll be one by the end of the season. But this is not this is not that far-fetched. And I know I said I think Alabama's going to win the SEC. I'm not backing off that. But the idea that one of these other teams could be on the other side in Atlanta.
Just to illustrate my point, though, you picked Alabama to win the championship, and obviously not that hot of a take. But of the 7 teams that I just named, LSU, Auburn, Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Mizzou and Oklahoma, how many right now would you trade Ty Simpson for their quarterback? 6 of the 7?
DJ Lagway, Garrett Nussmeier. I don't know that I'd trade him for Marcel Reed.
Lenore Sellers?
I would definitely take Lenore Sellers.
John Mateer?
Yep. Austin Simmons I'd take 2 probably.
So 5 of the 7?
Yeah. You have Ole Miss in that group too, right?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think we might be sleeping on Ole Miss.
Yeah. Well, we'll get that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then segues to the next one, number 4 here, Andy. And we're going through these faster a little bit than yours, so maybe we'll get to a longer conversation. I'm sure we will. But a 9-3 team or teams make the college football playoff this year. And this one was predicated a lot on the thought exercise that we did at Big Ten Media Day with Indiana, and actually trying to like peel back the curtain and come up with the actual odds that a team that has Indiana's schedule could come out of nowhere, go 11-1 without playing anybody all that good, and actually like make it through the Big Ten with a favorable schedule and do it the way that they did. And like the odds of that repeating seem very low. Like everything had to happen for Indiana last year. The fact that their schedule set up that way, the fact that Michigan wasn't very good, the fact that Washington wasn't very good, the fact that they avoided Penn State and Oregon in the regular season and only played Ohio State. Like the odds of a team emerging from the Big Ten out of nowhere at 11-1 with those circumstances seems pretty low. And they were a block. If Indiana didn't exist, a 9-3 team makes it last year. Is that a fair statement? Right? That's a fact, right?
It is a fact. Yes.
Like if Indiana was 8-4 or whatever, and it was a non-factor, they would have.
Or if SMU had a bad year. Yeah.
Yeah. One of those two teams was a blocker of a 9-3 team, and you had 9-3 teams waiting in wings. 3 of them, obviously, the 3-headed monster between, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Bama were all sitting there waiting there. I don't know how they would have decided between those 3, but they would have decided. I think that the likelihood that 2 or 1 9-3 teams in the playoff this year is likely, in that we need to massage the idea that you have to go 10-2 to get in, because I think that's going to die as soon as this season, especially with how competitive the sport. I think in general, my anticipation for this year, Andy, more than anything, is more parity than I've ever had in my adult life in the sport. Is that a fair expectation for this year?
Like I think so. I think everybody's getting a little bit deeper. Talent is spreading wider.
Quarterbacks are good everywhere.
Quarterbacks are great. It's going to be hard to be 11-1 or 10-2. It's really going to be hard.
So the fact that you feel like the odds that like there'll be 9 or 10-2 teams are better Like it'd be fun to go back and add it all up. I probably should have, of like how many times in the past 10 years have there been more than 5, 10-2 or better teams at the end of the year? I don't think that it's that often. So, yeah, the fact that we got 12 now, you're going to be dipping your toe into 9-3 land, and 9-3 land is a pretty scary place because I think there's going to be a lot of 9-3 teams. So, like, you want to talk about
there's
protocol.
A lot of variability, and it's one of those things where there's going to be a clog and a lot of candidates for that last one. So,
because the second you drop down from 10-2 to 9-3, you go from a pool of 12 teams to a pool of 20, and then I'm
going back through the years, Ari. 2023, there were 12 teams at 10-2 or better.
Okay.
Before you got to a 3-loss team. 2022, so Kansas State was a 3-loss conference champ at number 9. Utah was a 3-loss conference champ at number 8, but they had won 10 games because they had won their conference. So you could get, like, you didn't get to another 3-loss team till you got to number 13, Florida State at 9-3. But you're seeing where the idea of a 3-loss team should not shock you.
But like also like the entire notion of the 12-team playoff working out perfectly has always been there, right? It's like, oh, this is the great perfect system. That's the magic number. But like the correlation between 9-3 and hovering around 11 through 14 in the rankings is rampant.
Mm-hmm. And it's harder now than it was then because the conferences are bigger.
It's harder. Yeah, that's right. They don't play each other. There's less data. There's less head-to-head results to go off of, which then brings us back to the number 2 prediction, which is the protocols won't matter because you want to know how they would have deciphered all those 5 or 6 9-3 teams by looking at who played the hardest schedule and who had the best wins. Like that's the way it would have gone. So those are my thoughts on the 9-3 thing. But I think that like people come into this year, like we even had a discussion on Wednesday, Andy, if Notre Dame is 10-2, will they get in? Yeah, 10-2 is going to be a safe in, I think. The question I think that I would ask you back while we're talking about this is, do you think there will be a point in the 12-team era that 10-2 does not get in?
Only if it's a situation like Indiana's schedule last year. Because 10-2, Indiana last year would not have gotten in, or would have it may have come down to them and SMU, but one of those 9-3 SEC teams probably would have gotten in over Indiana at that point.
Yeah. I don't know that a 10-2 team with this many spots will ever miss it unless it's a group of 5 team.
I think you're probably right. I think we are probably overreacting to Indiana last year.
We are.
And it will become normalized. Now, we don't know how long the thing's going to be at 12. I hope it's longer, but we don't know. If it goes to 16, then we're going to have the same conversation about 8-4.
Yeah. So like if North Carolina goes 11-1 this year, that would be the Indiana, right?
That would be, yes. That's probably the closest thing to it.
Because you beat all the teams and then you lose to Clemson.
You would lose to Clemson, yeah.
And that would be the same thing. I don't know. There aren't a lot of schedules like that in the modern makeup of the sport. So
I would argue that there's not one in the Big Ten and there's not one in the SEC this year. Although we would have said last year that Indiana didn't have that schedule either at this point.
That's right. I wonder if somebody will come out of nowhere and have that schedule this year. But also, too, going 11-1 against an easy schedule is really hard, too. Like, I think we discount that. So, but
there's North Carolina schedule.
Me. But like if North Carolina won all their games, but they had TCU and wins over Duke, and then lost to Clemson, they would probably have to play Clemson again. So that would probably work itself out. But like it is kind of similar, eerily similar.
It is.
Although, funny enough,
what a story that would be.
Funny enough, we're picking on North Carolina. They're playing TCU in the non-conference, which is ages better than anything that
and UCF.
Yeah, they had 2 quote unquote power opponents in their non-conference, and Indiana has 0. So Brett McMurphy wrote a column saying about I don't know if you read that. That was pretty strongly wordy. Yeah, I felt good to have some company ruffling some feathers at On 3. Because I go off the deep end. You're always you're reasoned and you make people mad, but you make them mad in a healthier way. I think I just piss people off.
I think the way you do it is is important. We need that.
Yeah, I the way I do it is just like I'm gonna run through a match factory with a gasoline suit on, but that's the way it is. So yeah, but I think that these are measured so far. No.
Oh yeah, this next one though.
Nuclear.
Oh, this is the one I've been waiting for. Let's go.
Nuclear. I don't know how to say that word. Oklahoma Sooners. I'm looking at the camera at you. I love you. You've accused me for years for hating your team. Oklahoma will make the playoff at 25. That's my prediction. I really think I'm going on a limb on this. And like, obviously part of this too is that you and I had to be different and you got to pick the Auburn horse. So I picked the other horse that we were talking about.
You could have picked Florida.
Could have picked Florida. But, would that have been that bold of a take? I guess
no, this feels like a more bold take just because we did see Florida at the end of last season doing the things that would be required to do it this season. We've not seen that from Oklahoma.
Have we talked about the three, the SEC three, Oklahoma, Florida, and Auburn? And which one of those three is the favorite to make the playoff in our minds? Would you say Florida is the favorite of those three?
No, because I don't know about DJ Lagway's health. I don't know that I can pick a favorite of these three because I have serious questions about all of them, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't know if like we're doing other teams a disservice by not including them in the three. These are like big brands that in the past.
Right, because I think Ole Miss probably belongs in that conversation too. Tennessee freaking made the playoff last year. Texas A&M was playing for a spot in the SEC championship game on rivalry weekend, so it's not like these are the only three outside of the usual suspects.
Tier the SEC because we don't. That's a JD PicKell bit, so we don't do that. But like, let's tier it. The top tier of the SEC is obviously the big three that I mentioned earlier: Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. Right? Those are the three. Then you have the second tier, LSU, and I think LSU even might be alone in that second tier. Mm-hmm. But LSU would be that second tier, I think. And then you have the glob. But my third tier below LSU would be these three teams, and all teams from the second and third tier, I think, could conceivably win the championship.
I think it'd be these three teams:
Ole
Texas
Miss,
A&M, and Ole Miss,
A&M, and then South Carolina. You would have to put in,
and South Carolina, and maybe Tennessee.
I think Tennessee would be Tennessee, Vanderbilt in my fourth tier, and then like Arkansas, Vanderbilt. Arkansas, Mizzou. Wait, where would you put Mizzou? We haven't talked enough about Mizzou.
I think Mizzou's on a higher tier. Mizzou and Tennessee might be on a similar tier this year.
Tennessee, Vanderbilt in that tier, and then the bottom tier would be.
By the way, Vol Twitter's done with you. You are dead to Vol Twitter.
I think at this moment, like that's a reasonable thing. I don't know, like I hope that like in order, you're gonna laugh, Andy, but like in order to keep Vol Twitter on my side, do I have to like being reasonable is not enough? You've got to go above and beyond reasonable. River, get up here. River, get up here.
No, we're talking about. Oh, hi, River.
Hi.
I'm sorry.
Our resident Vol for life.
Is me putting Tennessee in the fourth tier heading into this specific year? This isn't program rankings. This is expectations of 25. Insulting.
The fourth tier, they just made the playoffs. A lot of their defense is returning. The biggest question mark is the quarterback and receivers. I think 4 is a little too low. I don't think they're second tier, but probably tier 3.
But do you think that Tennessee belongs in the same tier with Oklahoma, Florida, and
I mean, they all play Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Florida.
I know, I'm just saying, like, do you
Tennessee
think that I
beat
should
both last year?
Do you think I should think that?
I think they're closer than you're making it out to be, but I don't know if you need to put them in that direct tier just because
they're the tier right below
tier
it.
4.
We were talking about Oklahoma, though.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Oklahoma. Okay, let's go back to Oklahoma
here.
Anyway, we have to round out the conversation though and say the bottom tier are the 3 lower ranked teams, which Kentucky, Arkansas, and Mississippi State. But okay, Oklahoma. Here's why I have them there. And I think I'm being a little bit froggy, okay? But I am absolutely hammered drunk on John Mateer hype. I've watched him in his highlights, and I watched him play last year. I think he has a chance, stone cold face to you, Andy, right now, to be the best quarterback in college football this year. Like that is on the table. Will it happen? I don't know. But like I have Mateer in my Arch Manning, Lagway, Sellers like group of like, holy crap, these guys are going to be incredible. I also think that people are undervaluing Oklahoma tremendously going into the year because we're overreacting. We're over analyzing what happened a year ago and thinking that is what they are, when actually I think it's more likely that Oklahoma, one of the most consistent programs in the history of college football, had a blip bad year than it is a trend. We've all gotten so hyper-focused on how bad they were a year ago that we fixated on things that have no application to this season. They had awful injury luck, which they hopefully can subside this year. They got a quarterback that can be a star. They have a revamped or at least retooled offensive line. They hired a new offensive coordinator. They've got the best defensive-minded head coach in the country, and they have Jaden Ott in the backfield. Like, I'm high on Deion Burks. Like, they have
best
guys
defensive-minded head coach in the country. You realize Kirby Smart is a defensive-minded head coach.
Don't needle me with
with facts.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. All right. Second best. Like, is that better? Like, did my point change? Like, I don't like. You know what I'm talking about. So Oklahoma has the hardest schedule in college football. This is the elephant in the room, right? Like, they have the hardest schedule. They might have the hardest schedule I've ever seen. And you can't talk about Oklahoma without at least acknowledging that. But in conjunction with my fourth overall bold prediction, a 9-3 team will make it. I think that Oklahoma at 9-3 is an absolute lock to make the playoff. If they go 9-3 against this schedule, they are going to have multiple quality wins that will allow that metric that the SEC thinks is just made up going into this year that will help them, which is quality wins and strength of schedule. Like, that stuff's going to help them. So I personally believe, and I think that I've come around to this, that we're overvaluing Michigan this year. But I think that if Oklahoma were to beat them, which I anticipate that they will if I had to pick the game right now, that Oklahoma will get a lot of credit for a win that may not be as sexy at the end of the year as it was at the beginning. Their front half of their schedule, River, if you could help me out and throw it back up there again, is more manageable than the back half in terms of the South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Mizzou, LSU all in a row is a nightmare. But if they go and win against Auburn and Michigan and start the season off 5-0, and they go into Red River undefeated, which I think is a certain possibility, and they play that game close, I think you go into the back half of the year with the opportunity to go 5-2 on the back half, and or to only lose twice on the back half and finish 9-3 with a loss to Texas. I think that puts you in. Like, if you're
9-3 against this schedule, there's a really good chance you've beaten at least one playoff team. And I think that's like, if you're gonna get in at 9-3. The thing you're probably going to have done is beat at least one other team in the field.
If there are 3 losses are Texas, Alabama, and LSU, that means they will have beaten Michigan, Auburn, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Mizzou.
Yes. And that's going to look very good. And there's a good chance that one of those might actually be in the playoff.
Now the question is, do you think that 9-3 is a feasible thing? And also, do you dare to ask, could they potentially beat one of the other 3 that we're giving them losses on?
If you're 9-3 against this, or if you're capable of going 9-3 against this schedule, Ari, you are capable of going 11-1 against this schedule.
Brent Venables is a hot topic, and a lot of people like to, hey, he can't coach or whatever. I think he can coach. And he's also there to beat the teams that we're assigning losses to. They're not there to go 8-4, 7-5. He is hired, and his job is to go 10-2 or better against this schedule, Andy. Like, that is a fact. He knows what the job is. I think that, this might look awful. Oklahoma might be improved from last year and still go 6-6. I think that's on the table too. But considering how we are viewing them, it's almost like we forgot their consistency. It's almost like we forgot who they are. It's almost like we forgot what they've given us year after year after year after year, my entire adult life. I think that they have an opportunity here to surprise us, and I think it's possible that if their quarterback is a household name, they avoid injuries, and their offensive line can block, that they are a very, very tough out in the SEC and a team that's capable of beating Texas, even in a rivalry game. You're the one last year that told me last year, oh, It's the Red River. Anything can happen. It's crazy, right? Like this is the type of year where that craziness kind of manifests, I think. So
John Mateer was the most sought after player in the transfer portal this year. There was a reason for that. So if he is as good as everybody thinks he is, this is going to be a much better team.
Yeah, they got the Bermuda Triangle. You know, they got Jaden Ott, they got Deion Burks, and they got John Mateer. If their offensive line can block, they're going to score.
And that's the question.
Yeah.
It's that the biggest question is how good will their offensive line be? And we won't know that until we see them play, probably until we see them play Michigan.
Yeah.
That's a very good defensive front they've got to deal with there. So if they can handle Michigan, then they can probably handle the defensive fronts on the rest of their schedule, which, by the way, especially Texas, especially Alabama, especially LSU, going to be good.
What's your verdict, though? See it? Or do you
It's
think
possible. I see it. I just think, and this is the reason I say Oklahoma has the hardest schedule in the country and not Florida. Because I think if we just look at the teams they play out of order, we go, it's about the same. The fact that Oklahoma has those 7 in a row, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU, nobody else has to deal with that kind of cumulative effect.
Yeah.
And I think it is going to be like, you got to be really good to overcome that.
The expectation is that Oklahoma will be very good. I'm not taking my eye off the ball because everybody got distracted by last year.
All right.
Last year is not this year. And I think that everybody forgets that.
I think that's fair. And I think that's actually something we probably should all tell ourselves this time every
Rule
year.
for life. Last year is not this year.
I like it. We got to make those t-shirts.
Okay. So this is about time where I snorted a big fat line and things go off the rails. So let's stick with me here, okay?
Hit me with number 6, baby.
Number 6, Carnell Tate will lead Ohio State in receiving this year. Jeremiah Smith, nevertheless, will be the number 1 overall pick in the 27 NFL draft.
You're making Jeremiah Smith a decoy.
This is either going to look brilliant or the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your entire life, and there's no in between. Here's my deal. I think that Jeremiah Smith is the best college football receiver I've ever seen. I think I thought that by week 3 last year. I don't know if I'm crazy. I don't know if there's a single receiver in college that you would take with this much information. Like, it's easy to go, yeah, well, I would have taken Calvin Johnson with the whole picture. But if you stop...
Georgia Tech didn't use him, right?
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald, his 3rd year in college, because he redshirted his first year.
Trying to
maybe
think, how many players...
I don't think so.
How many receivers have done this through their first year as a true freshman? Not many.
No.
But also, it's the body type, it's the ability, it's the ball skills, it's everything. You can just look at him and you know he's going to be an NFL star. I think, and I wrote in the column that I anticipate he'll be an NFL Hall of Famer when this is all said and done. So you want to talk about like hype? There's your hype. That said, people obsess way too much over stats, and I think that it's possible that if they play 12 regular season games next year and every single team sells out their defense to stop him from torching them, that there are other players on the team that might be first-round picks at the receiver position as well, and Carnell Tate is one of those players.
Let me give you a box score, Ari.
Is it the Texas
Let's
one?
travel back in time to the Cotton Bowl.
Yep.
Ohio State versus Texas. You and I were both there. Who led Ohio State in receiving that night?
Carnell Tate.
Correct. 7 catches for 87 yards. Texas was indeed selling out to stop Jeremiah Smith. It is why Carnell Tate racked up, it's not a great average, but racked up receiving yards, and also why Travion Henderson had the biggest play of the game, catching the ball out of the backfield for 75 yards.
Yeah, my thing is that if you sell out to stop Jeremiah, you will not be able to stop Tate. Now, here's where the thing can backfire in my face. Texas.
Jeremiah's just that good.
Well, that, of course. But here's where it's going to really backfire. Texas has a level of athlete where selling out is effective. If Ohio State plays teams that they're favored by 28 points by, and they sell out for Jeremiah, Jeremiah is still probably going to get open. Like if you look at Ohio State's schedule, like they play Minnesota, they play Wisconsin, Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers. Half their schedule is against teams that can't physically match up against them. If you play a team, like how many teams can duplicate what Texas pulled off in the Cotton Bowl? Like that's the question. And if you think that it's not many, then Jeremiah Smith might be triple teamed and double teamed and still get open and do what he does, and rack up a bunch of stats. But what I mean,
Washington's got those two, ridiculously rangy corners.
Yeah,
maybe they
Sicario
can
Davis.
do it with less help. Penn State obviously has some very good DBs and very good athletes. Illinois has had good players on defense that have come through that maybe, but it is very rare that you're going to be able to even sell out. And so, and I want to take you into another group of really good receivers, Ari, because the last one, my last stat, I think helps your argument. I think this may hurt it. So in 2019, Alabama had a stacked receiver room. Mm-hmm. So this is probably even better than Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis and whoever else may emerge here. In 2019, Alabama had Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, and Devontae Smith. Those were their top four receivers. It's a loaded room. Who do you think led them in receiving yardage that year?
Jeudy.
It was Devontae Smith. The best player is going to lead them in receiving yardage, and Jeremiah Smith is the best player. Devontae Smith was the best player. We just didn't know that yet. We needed to see him in 2020 to understand that he was even better than those other first-round guys.
Here's another piece of statistical trivia for you. Who led Ohio State in receptions last year?
Carnell Tate?
Nope, it was Emeka Egbuka.
Oh, it was Egbuka. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Another first-rounder, by the way.
Emeka Egbuka also had, I believe, over 300 yards fewer receiving than Jeremiah. Right. So
when the 6'4" guy who runs faster than everybody else catches it, crazy things happen.
So my question to you back would be, if the receptions are still there for everybody else, because you have to replace Egbuka too. Like people forget, like Egbuka's tearing it up at Tampa Bay's camp right now. Like he's going to be he may be
their number 2 receiver, depending on the Jalen McMillan injury situation and Chris Godwin comes back. Yeah.
And Chris Godwin's hurt and they got a lot of
yardage. By the way, their number 1 receiver is future Hall of Famer Mike Evans.
Yeah. Who, by the way, isn't slowing down at all. And it's unbelievable. Mike Evans is the most underappreciated NFL athlete.
But the thing is, like, I'm glad you mentioned this because this seems like it's off topic. But I remember watching Mike Evans at Texas A&M. Mike Evans was a 6'5", 225-pound dude that could run like the wind.
Sounds familiar.
Except if you gave me college Mike Evans or college Jeremiah Smith, I'm taking Jeremiah Smith 11 times out of 10. He's that much more polished and skilled.
The scariest thing about Jeremiah
at this point in his career
is that the kid might still be growing. Like he's not even there physically yet. Yeah. But the fact is, though, that Ohio State has picked a quarterback who's going to air it out. And I think part of the reason why they did that is because Jeremiah Smith exists. But if he doesn't lead the team in receptions and teams sell out to stop him from those big 70-yard chunk plays, it might be hard for him to amass the statistics that he had a year ago. That said, I might look like an idiot and he might have 1,700 yards receiving. I don't know. I'm not betting against Jeremiah Smith. What I'm doing is reminding you that Ohio State's receiving core isn't just Jeremiah Smith.
I'm thinking this is going to look like Larry Fitzgerald's junior year. That's what I'm thinking.
How many touchdowns did he have that year?
Let's look it up. But it's still amazing to me that he redshirted, by the way. All right, Larry Fitzgerald college stats.
He had
2003.
Yep.
1,672 yards on 92 catches, 22 touchdown catches.
Yep.
22.
Yeah. That'd be something.
Okay, maybe Jeremiah Smith won't have that many touchdown catches because that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to have 3 a game, but we are 2.5 a game. But I don't know. I might look like an idiot, but I wanted to make sure that the NFL draft thing was still on there because I'm not predicting that he's going to get worse. I'm predicting that defenses are going to take him away.
Well, and the amazing thing about that NFL draft thing is we will see if Arch Manning stays in college another year. We think he's going to. So he would be in that draft. DJ Lagway would be eligible for that draft. I'm sure there are some other quarterbacks who have not yet emerged who by the end of next season will be considered first-round material. I still think I might take Jeremiah Smith no matter how good any of those quarterbacks are.
It's so interesting that Emeka Egbuka existed on last year's team and is going to be the bona fide number 2 receiver on an NFL roster right now, and people forgot he existed, including you.
I'm sorry, Mecca. That's my bad.
And it's not Andy's fault. It's not your fault if you don't follow it. I forgot about it until I looked at the box score. It's that's how big of an aura that Jeremiah Smith has. And I wonder if like Carnell Tate becomes a quasi-star as a result of all of that atmosphere being taken up. But we'll see. I might look like an idiot. I'm okay with that. Number 7.
Stay in the Big Ten, yeah.
Oregon plays in the Big Ten title game again.
This is interesting because I think everybody's assuming it's Penn State and probably Ohio State.
Yeah. This is the offseason of Penn State hype. There's never been more Penn State hype in an offseason in my professional career. And I think that it's appropriate. Penn State has a top 5 roster that you can make with a straight face, that comment, for the first time in James Franklin's tenure. They have a returning quarterback who we anticipate might be a first-round pick next year. They fixed the receiver room. They have an exciting tight end. Their edge rushers are awesome. Like that, they got interior defensive linemen that can alter the game. There isn't really like what's the overt weakness that you would have with Penn State. And of course, Ohio State is Ohio State. I think people are anticipating that Oregon is going to take a major step back from last year as a result of the way that the season ended. And when we talked about this at Big Ten Media Day, when you go down the list of players that Oregon has, it's dude after dude after dude after dude at a variety of different positions, from running back to linebacker to tight end. Obviously, they're replacing their quarterback, as is Ohio State. And the one thing that struck me like a ton of bricks is that college football, as you like to say, Andy, is about knocking at the door and doing it over and over and over again. And there are 3 coaches this year who I believe have been knocking at the door for quite some time. That would be James Franklin at Penn State. That would be Steve Sarkisian at Texas. And that would be Dan Lanning at Oregon. Ryan Day is no longer knocking at the door. He bursted through the door. So they take that out. But I think that Oregon is very undervalued this year. And they do not play Ohio State or Michigan in the regular season, which I think would believe to be a pretty shoe-in Big Ten championship run, even if they were to somehow lose to Penn State. I think that Oregon could win the Big Ten or play in the Big Ten championship game against Penn State, even if your prediction of Penn State winning a top 5 matchup is true as well. So like they have the most favorable schedule. And like, I think it's right there for the taking. I think it's right there, Andy.
I understand that. And I agree with everything you just said. Here is one thing that may give me pause, and it may not even be a big deal. Oregon did have to go into the portal to shore up its offensive line. You know, we talk about Texas. We talk about other team. Ohio State's a team. Now, they had to do a little bit in the portal too. But Oregon had to replace 3 starters with transfer guys. Now, we think Isaiah World is a big-time NFL talent. That's
one of the ones they got also was a first-round draft. So
that's you know, Isaiah World is one. He came from Nevada. He's the left tackle. Emmanuel Pregnon was USC's best offensive lineman last year. So it's not like they went out and got some schlub. Meanwhile, Alex Harkey was a very good offensive lineman at Texas State. He's leveling up, so we'll see how he does. But they do have the homegrown type, like Poncho, their center, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his real name because I will butcher it, and I'm sorry, but I do love that his nickname is Poncho, but maybe one of the best at his position at the game. So it may be that they just plug back in, and it's no problem.
This would be a bigger red flag for me if the players they got in the portal weren't awesome.
Right, and weren't players that everybody else wanted.
Yeah. like the Pregnon World thing, like is a strength in my mind, not a weakness.
Yeah. And so, you look at the
those
defense.
are two of the players that you list when you go down that name of dudes like that.
Right. And the defense is more homegrown. They've got some transfer starters like Dylan Thieneman, who came from Purdue, who was, Big Ten Freshman of the Year on defense in 2023, and it was good again last year. So, yeah, I think they're going to be fine. Mateo Uyunglele, one of the best pass rushers coming back in the whole country. But it's hard to argue against this because they do seem to be consistently putting together this kind of the only way this doesn't happen is just if Penn State and Ohio State are better. And now Oregon doesn't have to play Ohio State. They only have to play Penn State.
Ohio State has to play Penn State and Michigan's on the road this year. I know that we're kind of chalking that up to a victory, but that's still one more extra game that Oregon doesn't have. And Penn State has to play Oregon and Ohio State, and Oregon just has to play Penn State. So they already have like a 1-game advantage in the race.
Right. Now, they have to play at Washington at the end of the season. That's a rivalry game. We think Washington's going to be good. We think Damon Williams will be a good quarterback. They have to play at Iowa. We think Iowa's going to be pretty good. We don't know what USC is going to be yet. So they do play Indiana, but that's in
Oregon's
Eugene.
the only team of the top 4 teams in the Big Ten that only has to play one other top 4 team.
Yeah.
All the other 3 have to play 2.
So
and Ohio State
just
plays
on that alone makes yours not exactly a scalding take.
I feel like I'm like that's worth a bet.
That's how you would pick. I mean, that's honestly how you would pick if you're just saying, I think these teams are fairly equal. How am I going to decide who plays in the championship game? If there's only one that doesn't have to play 2 of the others, that's the one you'd pick, and that's Oregon.
Yeah, it seems like a layup to me. So we'll see. It's not a layup because Ohio State and Penn State still exist. But I think that we are undervaluing Oregon, and I wish I could rank them higher in my poll if I could redo it.
I do love that Oregon very quickly, only second year in the league, is a game that's circled by everybody who, like, whenever Oregon shows up, it's the biggest game in the world.
They've got a lot of good players. It's funny. It's a good formula.
Yeah. Crazy how that works.
PSA coaches have really good players.
Just get great players. And when they leave, if you don't have the right guy in your system already, just go get one out of the transfer portal who fits.
Yeah. The more good players you have, the better you are. It's crazy.
It's like it's easy, but it's really not easy. Oregon's done a good job of this. Yeah.
If I were a college coach, I would just be like, I want more good players. And I think that could happen.
Yeah, that always works.
Next one, Andy, is one that I think will strike close to our hearts because we made an oversight in our draft with River when we did a quarterback fantasy draft. Number 8, Austin Simmons will become a household name in the SEC and nationally. There is so much talent at the quarterback position in the SEC, as we just illustrated earlier in the show. I don't have to go through all the names, but one player that has been constantly overlooked in the offseason discourse is Austin Simmons. And there are 2 context clues that Lane Kiffin has given us when it comes to Austin Simmons. Well, first, if Simmons couldn't play or that Ole Miss wasn't in a position to trust him, Lane Kiffin would have certainly gone to the portal to find somebody else. He did not do that.
Because he's never been shy about that.
2, when Jackson Dart got injured, Austin Simmons came into the game under what would have been unfathomable pressure.
This is the Georgia game. Georgia has just scored to go up 7-0. Jackson Dart has thrown a terrible pick, and Jackson Dart's out. It's raining. You have to win this game because you've already got 2 losses. Like, you can't lose this or your playoff chances are dead.
The entire stadium took a sucker punch to the gut. It felt like they're like, why is this happening to us? And he comes in and scores. Leads a touchdown drive. It seems, and
it was a phenomenal drive. And I get it. I know we're putting an awful lot on one drive that we just happen to be there for. If I hadn't been there, maybe I wouldn't feel this way about it. If I just watched it on TV, I probably would say, you know what, that was a nice drive. I just go with all I saw before the game from Austin Simmons, just watching him interact with people, and then watching him come in and how calm he was in that situation. And I've gone back and watched that drive 3 or 4 times this offseason.
Gets better every time.
That's repeatable. It's repeatable.
Yeah. Also, he's a 6'4" alien that weighs 215 pounds and can throw the ball a mile in the air. So like that also helps.
And he's 19 and has a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, he's a special kid, I think. And the context clue of what Lane Kiffin did or lack thereof in the portal, I think, is more important than the drive, but they both exist. So
yeah,
just a name that I think we need to be keeping more of a tab on. And I think that it was a tremendous oversight on both of our parts, and we acknowledge that, but we'll do it again to not have him selected.
We had Austin on the show.
Yeah.
And I think, remember we recorded the thing and Austin clicked his browser window off. And so he was off the call. And I just looked at you and I'm like, I'm betting everything on Ole Miss next year. Because it's one of those in the moment, you're like, wow, that guy is impressive.
Yeah. So, I don't know what that means for Ole Miss and their pursuit of college football playoff in 2025. It is a team that I think we could make a case as being undervalued too. You've seen some numbers that indicate that they've got more good players than we're giving them credit for.
Yeah. And that Senior Bowl list that just came out this week, where their top 300 prospects, Ole Miss is one of the leaders in number of those players, those types of players. And they're right up there with LSU and with Alabama. And I think because they didn't make the giant splash in the portal like they did last year with Walter Nolan, that we sort of forgot about what they do. They still went in the portal and got players who can contribute. Like they got Deshaun Stribling, who was Oklahoma State's best receiver last year.
Yeah.
He's playing for Ole Miss now.
Yeah. They've got guys.
They got Luke Haas, the tight end from Arkansas. Like they got good players.
And say what you want about Lane Kiffin. He knows how to drop an offense. So should bode, all these things bode well for him. Okay. 2 more, Andy. Number 9, Clemson goes undefeated all the way to the ACC title and kind of duplicates what Oregon did in the regular season last year. There have been a lot of people, myself included, that have buried Sweeney. Buried him. I thought his stubbornness to go fully into the portal was going to mean that his teams were not competitive enough on the grand scale to, compete at a high level. And my original theory on my first appearance on your show ever back in 2018 or 19, whatever it was now, 2020, I have no idea when it was. But I said it and you're like, this guy's going to be on my show more. But like that they weren't recruiting at a high enough level to maintain annual contendership the way that Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama were at the time. And like there were a lot of different tea leaves that you can read for Clemson in terms of their downfall. And by the way, was kind of right because they weren't and haven't been what they were in the 2016-17 years. That said, we are here in 2025, Andy, and they have a really, really good team, and they play in a very, very winnable conference. Of all the Power 5 conference champions, I think that Clemson winning the ACC is the easiest prediction to make. Far easier than picking the winner of the Big 12, SEC, or Big 10. I think that it's a just baseline fact that they're probably just going to be in the playoff. And like to make it a little bit juicier, I said undefeated. That means that they will beat LSU in the opener, and they will go wire to wire in the ACC, winning all their games. And I think part of this
means they'll beat South Carolina too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when I originally read your list, I kind of glossed over this one. I was like, oh, that's not really much of a take, because I was thinking undefeated through the ACC because that's really all they have to do to make the playoff. But this also means, yes, they would beat LSU and they would beat South Carolina, which I don't think that's very easy. I think that's quite difficult.
Yeah.
Especially considering South Carolina's on the road, especially considering at that point, if they have beaten LSU and they have marched through the ACC, that grand scheme, that game won't mean as much to them, but it's a rivalry game. So of course it'll mean something. And they lost to them last year. So of course it'll mean something. But it's hard to go 12-0. It's hard to go 13-0 win the conference championship game.
Tinfoil hat Thursday?
Go for it.
You think Dabo Sweeney would be spouting off all these things about being the first team ever to go 16-0? They were the first team to go 15-0, the first team to ever go 16-0 if he didn't love his team? Or do you think that was just Dabo being
He
Dabo?
loves his team. And I think if we broke down every team, would Clemson be the one with the fewest question marks?
I think it would be up there with Oregon and Penn State and Ohio. Well, no. I think you.
Yeah, they have fewer
Oregon.
question marks than any of those teams.
Yeah, I guess if you were to rank the two teams that have the fewest question marks, it would be the two teams that are in the top of the polls, Penn State and Clemson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even Clemson has
Penn State has the receiver question mark. We ain't worried about whether Clemson has good receivers. They do.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that with Penn State either anymore now. I think they have good receivers.
I'm worried about it till I see it.
Yeah.
Like Clemson, we've already seen it.
Clemson has a true freshman running back who's just a stud too.
Yeah.
They've got guys at every layer of on both sides of the ball, for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about Clemson that I think will, to borrow your phrase, travel more than anything is their defensive line is going to be nasty. Mm-hmm. And I think that the reason why I came around to the 15-0 thing is A, what Dabo was saying, but B, I was thinking about LSU's number one weakness last year and the thing that they want to fix the most, which is the inability to run the ball in crucial situations. And the fact that they're going to
as Peter Woods appears on the screen,
they're going against a team that's going to be incredibly hard to do against with the additions of Will Helt at the end position. Like Clemson's defensive line can beat you by itself, I think.
And what is LSU's biggest question mark? Offensive line.
It's tough. It's a tough go of it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I'm leaning Clemson in the first week, while also believing that LSU could be a playoff team or an SEC contender. I still just think that Clemson is a notch above some of these other teams. And it turned out that like the ability to maintain a roster and keep it together while also adding important pieces through the portal, it wasn't a lot, but it was important, makes Clemson all of a sudden a more well-rounded team in a era that might have overcorrected in the portal. Like,
well, and
it was wrong at first, but now it might be right.
I think we overestimated how much the NIL era would affect Dabo Swinney. We thought he would handle that poorly. And so the NIL era and the transfer portal, they're the same and they're related, but they are different. Dabo's philosophy is I'm going to recruit and it is a deep philosophy. And you and I have actually had discussions about how he offers people, how you can't take official visits anywhere else if you're committed to Clemson, all of that stuff. All of that is in the service of creating a cohesive team that understands one another, that loves one another, that will play as one. The transfer portal is anathema to that.
Mm-hmm. The antithesis of, there are certain words I have a hard time pronouncing.
It is a tough one.
Of Clemson is like what Oklahoma State's dealing with this year. Like somebody tweeted on Wednesday, I saw it, and I wish I was better about writing down things that like caught my eye, but somebody's like, gun to your head right now, could you name a single player on Oklahoma State's roster? And it wasn't to make fun of Oklahoma State. It was just a thought to show you that their roster turned over so much that it's incredibly hard to keep track of who's even there anymore.
Yeah.
And like Clemson keeping together their team makes you feel good in terms of the
Yeah, well, right. You remember when these guys got recruited by Clemson. Like I remember when Sammy Brown committed to Clemson.
Yeah.
I remember when Chris Vizina committed to Clemson. That's their backup quarterback who's still there.
Now, this is all a thought exercise because we haven't seen Clemson play yet. The thing that would be a real drag, and I don't know if this will actually happen, but is if Clemson, goes 15-0 and then gets matched up with a super team at the end of the year, or what's left of super teams. They play an Alabama or they play a Georgia or an Ohio State or something at the end of the season in the playoff after going 15-0 and then get the Oregon fate, which is we are really, really good and much better than most teams, but still not good enough to beat the teams that are.
The change in the seeding process, I think, fixes that.
Right.
So they probably don't have to see that team.
Not out of the gate anyway, yeah.
Yeah. 2, I think they can hang with those teams because I think those teams are not so much deeper than Clemson like they may have been a couple of years ago.
But the Clemson question has never been about are they good enough to dominate the ACC. The Clemson question is if they'll ever be good enough again to win the national title.
Right.
And that's what we're waiting to see. Before we completely correct course and stop criticizing Dabo Swinney for his lack of roster flipping, I think we need to see them stand on the same field with one of the 3 best teams in college football and play them for 4 quarters.
If Dabo does this, if he pulls this off, I think he should be able to laugh in every one of our faces for the entire offseason.
If Dabo wins another
we all buried him,
he will be, in my mind, firmly cemented as the second best coach of our generation.
Behind Nick Saban, who's probably the best ever.
We're not going to play that game. Although there are certain elements of what Dabo Swinney is doing that I think would be more impressive than what Nick Saban did, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. It would be the ultimate vindication. All of the criticism he took.
Building a program, winning in multiple eras, doing it the same way, I think would be something.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially because he was right and we all were wrong. And there is something to keeping a team together, going through some stuff together, and figuring it out.
As I was looking through hotels for us, because we're going to the LSU game in Clemson, I saw some hotels in Spartanburg, and I laughed because I thought about that caller from Spartanburg.
Tyler!
From Spartanburg. And I don't know how far away Spartanburg is from Clemson, but it made me laugh.
It's not far. And I do wonder what Tyler's thinking. I don't think Tyler was a plant, by the way. I think all of that was real. And
let's find that guy. I would have him on the show.
We should have Tyler from Spartanburg on the show because I wonder. Now, look, if they lose to LSU, Tyler from Spartanburg is probably going to call in and be like, see, told you so. But I think they have a very good chance of competing for a national title this year.
Yep.
I'm excited to see Clemson play.
Yeah, 15-0.
Last one.
You're reading it there if you're watching first before I said it, but if you're listening, Texas wins the national title.
Not a hot take, kind of everybody's take.
Picking the national championship is a bold take. We're doing it in August. All right, I might have gotten to 10 and ran out of gas. I don't know, but like this is I mean, I'm very confident that they'll do it. I don't know if they'll win the SEC. I'm not even saying that they won't even lose to a team like Oklahoma. I think that it is Steve Sarkisian's turn. When I look at the coaches that have broken through, you have looked at coaches that have amassed an insane amount of talent. Ryan Day at Ohio State, Kirby Smart at Georgia, who have done it the super team way. And it took some time for them to actually win the games on the field, but they eventually had the rosters at the right time to break through. And I think that that's what illustrates Texas' season this year. They are a team that has more players than most. They have a coach that has been battle tested at times and have come up short in big moments. But what I saw out of them against Ohio State and how they were able to hang in tough against that team, the thing I thought of when I walked off the field in Dallas after that game, which we already referenced with the Jeremiah Smith one, was I can totally see myself standing on a field like this a year from now, talking about how Texas broke through. It seems appropriate timing. It seems roster wise they're there, and the Alabama and Georgia have question marks. Ohio State isn't what they were last year. There are very good teams. Penn State, Oregon still exists. Clemson exists. But I think when it all is said and done, Texas will be the champion this year.
So I think I know your answer to this, but this is more rhetorical than anything else because I think these would be the guys. We talk about breaking through. So you think Steve Sarkisian is more ready to break through than Dan Lanning or James Franklin?
I don't know about more ready. I think he's been knocking longer. And I think that the reason why I'm comfortable picking Texas is that they are knocking in the same ways that Ohio State and Georgia did. Like, I think that like Penn State knocked a little bit last year and Oregon knocked, but in Oregon, I even think more so than Penn State. Like Penn State's doing it more the Clemson way than the Georgia way.
Yeah, I really think it's Lanning and Sark does feel a little bit ahead right now.
Right. It's like James Franklin's been knocking, but James Franklin is knocking in a way that, you know, his team finally came together and had enough pieces coming back. Like they didn't do this by being a recruiting juggernaut. And like, I don't know if I'm still at the point yet as a human being I think the time might come in 2029, 2030, where you start picking teams to actually win the title that didn't recruit that way. But Texas and Oregon to me are the two teams that have amassed talent that way.
And what has made Sark different than the previous two Texas administrations is he develops them once they get there.
And
like
they've already
done a great job creating NFL players since Sark got there.
2 years in a row that they belong on those fields. And I actually think that despite the fact that I'm shocked that they didn't end up beating Washington when they played 2 years ago, that this Texas team last year was more of a national championship level team than the one before it. And now I think that this team with Arch Manning, if things come to play, Ryan Wingo, Colin Simmons, Ant Hill, like I don't need to go down the list. You can help me pronounce the safety's name because it's spelled weird and I always freak out whenever Taffy?
Michael Taffy. Yeah. And you can watch, by the way, Michael Taffy and I believe Colin Simmons. And there's one other Texas player and a couple of A&M players in a Sonic ad.
It's very
with
funny.
Terry Crews. It is spectacular where he teaches them how to act for their NIL commercials. It is. If you have not seen that yet, it's awesome.
And then also CJ Baxter exists. Like they've got guys all over the place. It just seems to me to be the next in line in the traditional way of making a championship level roster. Now that might not, maybe James Franklin will knock them off. Maybe Clemson will do it. I don't know. But the mega team era still has a high impact on me, and Texas is as close to a mega team that hasn't won a championship that you can come up with. And I think now is the appropriate time to pick it.
I think it's going to be fun to watch. And they've now become the team everybody hates and wants to see knocked off. Maybe I don't know.
Remember I used to do this to you?
I do. And I was like,
funny anymore.
It ain't happening, buddy. They can't make NFL players anymore. And
it doesn't.
Boy Sark has proven that wrong.
Yeah. So I think he's next up. I don't know if it'll be this year. I think it will be. That's my prediction. But if not, it seems with Texas and Sark that it's a matter of when, not if they will do it.
It'll be very exciting to find out. We will have to keep track of these. I was going through my bold predictions from 2024. We didn't do this on yesterday's show, but let's see how many I got right. You didn't have to do this because you weren't working here yet, but
I want to hear yours. And if not, you can leave the mailbag episode on Friday on it.
This will be the most electrifying college football season since 2007. I thought it was pretty electrifying, but I don't know if it didn't really.
I would use that prediction for this year.
You're probably right. Here's a bad one. 5 SEC teams will make the first 12-team college football playoff. Only 3 did.
Yeah. You missed, but the first 3 out were all SEC teams, so it wasn't terrible.
Nebraska will be 7-0 entering the Ohio State game. Illinois was the one that handed them their first loss, and so that ended that. Colorado will make a bowl game. Got that one. Oh, this one hurts. Miami will play in the ACC title game. Miami should have played in the ACC title game. I did not predict them to lose to Georgia Tech and Syracuse.
I like all these from last year, going back to last
Manning
summer.
will start at least one game for Texas, but Quinn Ewers will remain QB1.
Nailed it.
So I got that one. The Heisman Trophy winner will start the season with a plus 2,000 or larger betting line. I got that one.
Yep.
Because Travis Hunter was plus 4,000.
Yep.
Into September.
That was a miscarriage of odds right there. That was wrong.
But who would have? We weren't sure the electorate was ready for that.
Yeah.
So Baylor coach Dave Aranda will be this season's version of Neil Brown, which you hear that and you're like, oh, Neil Brown got fired. No. Neil Brown saved himself in 2023.
That was right. You're right on this.
And Dave Aranda saved himself in 2024.
Yep, that's correct. You did pretty good. Keep going.
The most productive tailback duo in the country likely will be at Ohio State, but don't count out a pair of transfers at Missouri. That would be Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel replacing Cody Schrader. That didn't work out.
Especially with the running back to Penn State.
Yes. Liberty will go undefeated, but we left out of the college football playoff. They would have been left out had they been undefeated, but Kennesaw State took care of them on a Wednesday night and they ended up losing some more games too.
Weren't they like a huge underdog in that game too? I think Kennesaw State was like a 28 or 30-point underdog in that game.
Yeah. And they were first year in the FBS. So, but yeah, that was Liberty was not as good as they expected. I actually think they're going to bounce back this year, but it's one of those where the schedule's so weak that it probably doesn't matter.
Yep. Was that 10?
I did all right.
Yeah, you did pretty good.
Yeah. We'll see. I think yours have a better chance than mine this year.
I don't know. I mean, my second one isn't even really a prediction. It's just a fact. So like that, I'm already ahead of the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's correct. I can tell you right now that's correct.
But it'll be really fun to go through these again in December and see how we did.
Yeah. So, guys, we've made our predictions. Hey, hit us with yours because dear Andy, dear Ari, coming on Friday. If you don't feel like asking a question, just throw some great predictions at us. I love to hear what you think is going to happen this season. AndyStaplesOn3@gmail.com, Ari.Wasserman@on3.com. Send away. We'll talk to you again on Friday.